Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books and horror. And today I'm here to talk to you about all of the new book releases for the month of May.
It's coffee time.
As always, I have a list of around 24 new releases, and these are for the majority thrillers and horrors. This is not obviously a complete list. There's always so many books that come out each month. So this is just like a small curated list that I have for you guys to give you an idea of some of the books that are coming out in May 2023. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Let's start with a horror novella. Let's start small, and we have The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. Now this is supposed to put a spin on the Little Mermaid tale, not particularly on the Disney one, but in mermaids in general. It's not a tale about a mermaid that comes to shore and finds the prince and falls in love and everything is good. This is about mermaids that have teeth. So this is a perfect release, par on point with the Little Mermaid new live action movie being released also right now. From that horrific visual of mermaids with teeth, we go to a YA horror thriller. We have We Don't Swim Here by Vincent Tirado. This is from the author of Burn Down, Rise Up, which is a book that I picked up last year, and sadly I still have not had time to read. But if you love that one, for you to know that the author has a new book coming out in May. This is a story told from alternating voices from cousins that are retelling their story, and we are getting to know their deepest, darkest secrets. Next, we have another novella called Narcissus by Adam Godfrey, and it asks you a question. If the remaining of your life would depend on you not looking at your own reflection, and the moment that you did, you would die, how long would you survive? A day? A couple hours? A week? Our characters find themselves on holidays in Greece, and they go to one of these tours where they are being, explained the story of Narcissus, a demigod that loved to stare at his own reflection. And after our main characters look at the waters of the pool, they will be cursed and they start dying one by one. So we love to see that. And now we go to adult horror. We have Conjuring the Witch by Jessica Leonard. We have a reverend that always tells the people in town that there are witches in the woods. A couple of our characters that live in this town think that it's just made up and decide to go investigate, only to find out that the moment they came out of those woods, they were changed forever. Conjuring the Witch is also a story about people in power and things that they will be willing to do in order to stay in control. And it's also about the sins that we tell ourselves that are forgivable. Keeping on with the adult horror theme, we have Beleth Station, and this one is co-written by Samantha Kolesnik and Brian Smith. It is no surprise here in this channel that I love Samantha Kolesnik. I've read 2 of her novellas, absolutely love them. They're extremely disturbing, but I really enjoy them. So I'm so excited to read something new by her, even if it's just co-written, because I'm sure it's going to be messed up. The story takes place in Beleth Station, and it is a place where people never really go in. People never go really into this place. Only those who are born there kind of are being cursed to live there, and they know that they probably will never make it out of there. And all of a sudden, we have a couple of new characters coming to this place. It is a couple of newlyweds, and they are much in love, but they don't know the horrors are waiting for them at Beleth Station. And we're still talking here about adult horror. We have next The Briars by Stephanie Parent. Former ballerina Claire and dominatrix Ruby work at The Briars, and there is a legend that says that the former owner, the one that started this place, The Briars, that died in 1990, that the spirit of the former owner is still haunting the place. Now that they have a new employee in the place, it seems that the ghosts are restless and people are starting to get hurt. And another adult horror that is coming out is A Hunter Called Night by Tim Wagner. Tim Wagner is a Bram Stoker Award winner, and they say that this book is also for people that love Horror Story by Grady Hendrix or Authority by Vandermeer. Aaron is being hunted by something called Night and Night's friends. So he seeks refuge on an office because Aaron knows that Night cannot enter this building since it is part of civilization. Apparently creatures of the wild like Night cannot enter civilization areas. But of course Night is not going to stop to try to get to him. So this is the tale that we have human versus creatures. Next we have a queer horror thriller called Graveyard of Lost Children by Katrina Monroe. When Olivia was only 4 months old, she nearly died. Her mother was hearing voices, whispers from women that were telling her that her daughter was a changeling, and so she had to trade her daughter and leave it with the dead women at the bottom of the well. Now Olivia is all grown up and she is also pregnant. She is about to give birth when she starts hearing whispers of women herself. The next book that is going to be released in May is The Stradivarius by Ray Knowles. Mai is just looking for any chance to leave her aunt and start her own life, and the chance comes to her when she receives an inheritance. So she decides to move to her childhood home with her newly husband, and she feels like now it's a way that they can start over. However, there are still many rumors in town about the death of her father. So in the story, we are going to have to figure out what happened to her father and if actually people are correct in speculating about the way that he died. Next, we have Vile Thoughts by Fan Esler. This is a debut novel and it's supposed to combine horror with steampunk, which is quite interesting. Lenora has recently inherited her father's estate and she's really eager to take her place in this age of awareness. We are living in a world in which people, in order to read books, they are just being given an injection. That sounds quite interesting to me. Basically, you get injected and you probably just know what the book says. I'm not sure, but I'm really curious about how this is supposed to work. Next in horror fiction, we have The Quiet Stillness of Empty Houses by L.V. Russell. Theodora can hear whispers in the house, whispers everywhere in the property. She even can see watchers around the property. Theodora wants to leave her life behind and she decides to go to this manor to be a governess and take care of the kid that lives there, only for her to realize that in this manor there is things lurking in the dark and she's hearing things and seeing things. This sounds familiar to me. It sounds like a Gothic horror story, you know, the classics, kind of like The Turn of the Screw. So if this is what you're looking for, this might be one that you would probably look into it and see if it's something that you might enjoy. Now we have a queer vampire horror fantasy, so a nice combo here. We have A Long Time Dead by Samara Breger. This is a Victorian romance drenched with blood and drama, and also it kind of talks about how women would fight for a love that never dies. We are in the 1800s and we have Poppy that lives somewhere near London, so you get the vibe, you get another kind of Victorian Gothic vibe here with vampires. She woke up one night in a house that she didn't recognize and she realized that she's not able anymore to go out to the light. She realized that she had been turned into something, a vampire. I'm always really excited about new vampire book releases. I'm always interested to see how the authors kind of deal with the lore, the things that they change, if they keep it classic. You know, even though there's so many vampire books out there, it's something that I never get tired of reading. Next we have a YA Gothic horror fantasy and it's called All the Dead Lie Down by Kyrie Macaulay. This is a contemporary YA Gothic romance about a dark family lineage, the ghost of grief, and the lines that we would cross for love. Days after Marion is left alone in this world, she receives an invitation by a horror author called Alice Lovelace, and she offers her a nanny position at her own house, which she accepts because, you know, she's alone in the world, she doesn't have anywhere to go, so she takes the spot, and only to realize that Alice's girls are quite unique and interesting, and she realizes soon enough that there's something really dark in that place. We go back to adult horror and we have It Comes Back by John Penney. This book is all about guilt it knows what you did and it's gonna use it against you. So everybody has something that they are feeling guilty of, something that they blame themselves for, and apparently in this book, whatever we have, it's digging deeper into that to manipulate people, maybe to get them to kill themselves or maybe to get them to have accidents. This is really cool. I remember seeing an episode of Supernatural similar to this concept, and it is true, most anybody feels guilty about something even if they shouldn't, but we all do feel guilty about stuff, so it is quite an interesting concept. Next we have quite an interesting release because it is humor, horror, and it is non-fiction. It is called Oh My Goth, Jokes for When You Feel Dead Inside by Andrew Sheffer, and I am quite excited about this release, to be honest. I think this is the same author that wrote Secret Santa, which is a horror comedy in the Christmas season, which I actually ended up enjoying. This is an illustrated collection and it's gonna be perfect for Halloween. I really love the title and I think this is one that I would like to give a chance. You know, sometimes it's nice to have something to be funny, to lift you up, just for a giggle, instead of reading only super serious horror books. Moving on to the next release, we have Killing It by Mike Bokoven. The Square has been since the 1980s a great place for comedians and for shows, but before that, something evil was in there and now it's coming back. It's finding its way out. So one night, while comedians are killing it on stage, there is some evil that is being released in the room, and yeah, now they are fudged. Next we have The Devil's Pocketbook by Ross Jeffrey. Eric and Lara are mourning the loss of their daughter, so they decide that maybe in order to kind of save the relationship, because they are in a really dark place at the moment, maybe they can take a trip together to the sea and just stay there for a couple of days. But when they get there, they realize that nothing can really kind of mitigate that grief that they have. Nothing can really make it less. But when they are in this place by the sea, they discover the Devil's Pocketbook. And I'm guessing this is maybe going to offer them something that they are not going to be able to refuse. Next we have a horror historical fiction. We have Hungers as Old as This Land by Zachary Rosenberg, and we are in a settlement in the middle of the mountains. We are kind of in a Western situation here, and apart from the people that are living in the settlement, there's something else that lives in these mountains called the Hungers, and they kind of have a pact with them to have like harmony between them. So I am assuming now maybe the Hungers might be something similar to vampires. I'm just assuming here, but might be interesting for people that love historical fiction, but they also love some horror splashed into it. The next one is just meant to be fun, and yeah, that's what it is for. So if you love some horror comedy or just some ridiculous horror to have just a good time, you might want to check out this new release. It's called Attack of the Killer Tumbleweeds by Antonia Rachel Ward. Now the title obviously reminds me of the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but we also have Killer Clowns from Outer Space, like all of these campy, cheesy horror movies that are actually a really good fun watch. It's also based in Vegas in 1958, so if you're looking for just a fun, good horror time, you might want to check this one out. Moving on, we have Bloodborne by Shelley Wilson. Emma's brutal death at the hands of a vampire should have been her last breath, but a stranger stepped in and now she is a vampire herself, and she has to deal with her new identity, with the new rules, with the hunger. She's also just 17, and now she is kind of in the middle of a war between the immortal vampires and the half-blood rogues. So another vampire book for the month of May. I feel like there's a lot of vampire books coming out and I'm not complaining. Next we have a compilation of short horror stories. Might not be for everybody because, you know, based on the title, this is something related to bugs and insects and stuff like that. It's called This World Belonged to Us, an anthology of horror stories about bugs. You can probably count with some scorpions, some spiders, maybe some worms, like all the typical ones that we love. So it might not be for everybody, but I would be really interesting to read horror stories where bugs are the main character. Next we have a YA Gothic fantasy queer retelling. It is called The Alchemy of Moonlight by David Ferraro. And this one sounds like it might be something like related to werewolves, and I'm totally not opposed to it. So our main character has been disowned by the family because of being queer. So our main character decides to go and live with a count in a mansion. And when he gets there, he realizes that the family have a very special affliction to the full moon. Apart from that, our main character also discovers a dead body somewhere in the house, so what is more suspicious than that? So this one sounds really interesting. And last but definitely not least, we have the first book on a new series called Sinner. The book series is going to be called Santa Muerte, and it is by Carol James Marshall. A bruja is born, and if you're not familiar with the term, bruja is the Spanish name for witch. So if you love witches, here's a new series for you coming at the end, the very end of the month of May. When Matea was born, she realized that there was something inside of her, some sort of power, some sort of abilities that she had that nobody else seemed to have. She has these weird intuitions, and she's developing this power that she doesn't even know how she's supposed to control. So if you're looking, like I said, for a new take on witches, this might be one that you want to check out. And that was it, you guys. Those were all the books that I had on my list, all new releases for the month of May 2023. Let me know down below if I missed any other one that I should check out that's coming out next month. I hope this list was useful to you guys, and I hope you found something here that you're interested in. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know down below what you're most excited for that's coming out in May. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye!